Hey, what's up guys? Bad Wolf here. Another Ashes of Creation video about castle sieges. Since Ashes of Creation testing times are so spread out, I'll probably be making some content on other games in the interim. Although Ashes of Creation will in fact be the main game featured on my channel. Another thing to keep in mind is that the game is still in fact Alpha 1, so many systems are subject to change that I'm going to talk about. So the first thing is what exactly are castle sieges? Castle sieges is when an opposing group of players want to attack another group of players occupying a castle node or guild castle. And that brings up the question of why do you want to do this? Well, in the game, there will be a total of 5 total castle nodes. So owning a castle will not only make you the pinnacle of your influencing area, calling the shots with taxes for example, but you also get some pretty awesome unique mounts. An occupying guild leader of a castle will have the ability to own a dragon, in which is effective in PvP battles. You can also fly around, breathing fire on enemy players, which I think is pretty sweet. In addition to that, appointed guild officers of the occupying guild of the castle will also get flying mounts like wormlings. So they certainly won't be as epic as the guild leader's dragon, but flying nonetheless, which is still pretty awesome considering how rare flying mounts are going to be. What do you do after you get your castle node? Well, the first 3 weeks that a guild takes over a castle, they need to level up the adjacent nodes to the village stage. The 4th week is the declaration week, where other guilds can declare war against that castle. During this phase, players can sign up to defend or attack that castle node. After the 4th week, it's siege time, and rinse and repeat. What exactly is it like in a castle siege? First and foremost, it's mass PvP VE on an epic scale of what Intrepid wants to get Ashes to 250 players versus 250 players. Currently, during the testing, it's 100 versus 100 roughly, but it's still that's a lot of players. And considering how other games that are more fleshed out and fully released handle larger battles like this, I'd say that Ashes of Creation runs fairly smooth. So their back-end system that they were talking about clearly works. During the castle siege, you'll have access to siege weapons like trebuchets, catapults for both defending and attacking players. For example, if you're on the defending team, you'll get these catapults that are on the castle walls, and you can shoot them down at the attacking players. Their range isn't as far as like the trebuchets, but it's still extremely effective. And obviously attacking players get trebuchets, and based off of what we've seen in like trailers and whatnot, perhaps some like battle rams. And the attacking players can also attack the castle walls, gates, and buildings, which has visible destruction to them. Another unique thing that I find really interesting is that if you attack a building that has NPCs or provides some sort of service, once it roughly takes 25% damage, then it essentially loses its functionality and the NPC characters leave the building. It's like they're, fleeing from a collapsing building, which is, I think, fair. This also counts for buildings owned by players, such as like player freeholds or guild freeholds. The players that own these can actually defend their home too. So if it gets completely destroyed, it can be looted by the attacking guild if the attacking guild wins, or let alone destroys that building. Although you won't have to start over per se, in terms of like, you lose your freehold, you lose your furniture and stuff like that. All that stuff will get delivered to you back in your mail. And I'm pretty sure that the items that will be lootable are still just items for like crafting and stuff. During a castle siege as well, there are 5 control points, and what you have to do is you have to channel a control point if you're on the attacking team to take ownership of that control point. And there are, like I said, a total of 5, and the last one is in the throne room of the castle. And once the attacking team or attacking guild completes their channel in that throne room, then they win the fight. The ways that the defending guild can win the battle is obviously run out the timer, or they can kill I believe it's like the sergeant at arms at the attacker's camp where they initially spawn. When it comes to other games, you know, I'm obviously going to bring up ArcAge. But I also did play Black Desert Online, but I never really got into the castle sieging in Black Desert Online as I was playing ArcAge more. So that's the one I'm going to be more educated on. But you also had to channel to capture the castle's kind of waypoint or node, I guess they called it at the time. And when I did play ArcAge, it was when they came out with castle sieges. And so this isn't like ArcAge Unchained or anything. I've never played ArcAge Unchained. I only played ArcAge when, you know, it was Tryon running it, and so it was, you know, obviously heavily pay to win at that time. But yeah, so I'm not really sure if they changed it since then. And you know, ArcAge was fun at that time. It kind of forced everyone to fight together. You know, at one point you also had you know, some catapults that you could use, which was pretty cool. But I think the Ashes of Creation system is going to be more intuitive, and it's more inviting for all players because it has PvE content as opposed to ArcAge, where it was just purely PvP. And if you sucked at PvP, then you were kind of a detriment to your guild. Whereas in Ashes of Creation, you know, it has PvE dragons that are there in the battle with you. They're not like, you know, sieging the castle or anything, but they're surrounding the castle, and you can get your PvE players to kind of prioritize taking those down because it gives you a raid buff or raid benefits. And another thing that I also find really interesting about the Ashes of Creation system is the archetype party system that gives you special abilities or buffs. So for example, you know, if you're in a party with 8 tanks, you can each use one of your summon wall abilities in which it might construct a bigger wall. Summoners can also summon like siege creatures like golems, and the leader of that summoner party would essentially take control of that golem. So those are really unique systems that I find really interesting that I haven't necessarily seen in other games, where, you know, usually you're looking for that diversity within your party, which obviously you're going to be in a raid, right? So there's going to be a lot of diversity, but I think having, you know, summoners, you know, summoning siege golems is going to be awesome. And, you know, tanks being able to construct walls. It's just really unique, and I'm really interested to see how that plays out. I haven't seen it in the castle siege testing. I've only been a part of one siege during the testing. Unfortunately, it was not the castle siege that Intrepid just put out on their YouTube, which I highly recommend watching as well. The Alpha 1 spot testing has been a little rough as far as, you know, getting in and being able to get out of a zone where you're rubber banding. And so I know I told you guys that in my tank video that I want to test and get the feeling for each class and let everyone know what they play like. I don't want to play a class for just 3 hours in one day and get a half-ass feeling for it and give my opinion on the class, because that's really unfair. I want to be able to get to max level, at least for the alpha, which is 15, you know, enough to unlock all the base abilities and see how they synergize together and report to you guys on that. I know there are 64 combinations of classes, and those, I'm not looking to do videos on all 64, at least obviously during the testing phase, because that will take a very long time. But what I meant was, you know, getting you guys a kind of an understanding of the base classes that you start out with, right? So just essentially the base archetype. If you guys enjoyed my video, please consider subscribing and liking my video. I've made some changes, you know, to the logo, the banner, and it would mean a lot if you guys subscribed. I think it'd be really cool to also build some sort of community here, so we can form, you know, maybe a guild in game. If you're interested in that, please feel free to join my Discord as well. The link will be in the description. And I do have a guild name reservation, as I backed the game as a Braver of Worlds. So I know the game's, you know, a little ways from getting fully released, but we can discuss like what we want to call ourselves in the meantime. So yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. So until next time, guys, have a good one.